Hi, I'm Father Jim Forson, and I'd like to share with you some reflections on the readings of this Pentecost Sunday. Little fun fact. I speak Spanish, but oddly enough, I speak it without an American accent. That is to say, I can trill my R's, which most Americans can't do because we don't have that sound in English. And how is it that I can do this? Well, because of my mom. Back in, about 1963 or so, Fidel Castro kicked all the nuns and priests out of Cuba. And this one small community of Cuban nuns came to Los Angeles, and the cardinal at the time, not knowing exactly what to do with them, put them in a house which was just in our neighborhood down the street from my house. And this was 100% Anglo community. And these nuns spoke zero English. And so one day, this little gaggle of about 8 or 9 nuns in full habit were kind of walking down the street, and my mom saw them. So she just goes barreling out of the house and stops them. You sisters, hermanas, yo, Catholic, Católica, you Spanish, children, you Spanish to children, So we got the message across, and so about twice a week or so, my sisters and I would go down to their house, and we had a blast. They were so young and fun and pretty, and they taught us Spanish and began with language drills of R con R cigarro and things like that, and that's how I can trill my R's. And so we were with them for about several months until they got moved, and and that was that. Until back in '71, I went to St. John's College Seminary in Camarillo, and there was a community of nuns there that had a lot of the cleaning duties of the kitchen and laundry and so forth. And one of them came up to me at dinner time and she said, "I know you. I taught you Spanish when you were a little boy." It was the same group of nuns. And so when my mom and dad came up to visit me one time in the seminary, we had a great reunion, and it was hilarious as we were telling each other all these stories of how we had encountered each other, how we couldn't even speak the same language. But in a way, we were speaking the same language. Tell you another story. I was on vacation with some friends of mine in Umbria in Italy, and we rented this house which was just outside this little tiny town. And one morning we didn't have anything for breakfast, and so I walked into town, and there was a little tiny grocery store there. And I went into it, and I had to get bacon and eggs and stuff, and I'm kind of looking around. I don't see it anywhere, and the shopkeeper is looking at me, and he says, I don't know what he says in Italian, "Que cosa," or something like that. I don't know what he was saying. And so I said, "English? No. Spanish? No." So how do I say eggs in Italian? So this guy, he starts laughing, and he goes and gets a chicken breast. So, oh no, not a chicken breast. How do you say egg? Then he loses it, and he calls his wife in from the back room, and he tells her, and then she starts laughing. And so they went out and found me some eggs, and okay, good, we got the eggs. And then, bacon, I gotta make pig noises, I guess. And they brought me the bacon, they got it, and we are all hysterically laughing. And I had to get a birthday cake, and how do you say birthday cake? How do you even pantomime birthday cake? Happy birthday to... And then he starts singing that in Italian. Who knew that they had the birthday song in Italian? And then I needed to get candles, and so and he got me candles, and so I got everything I needed, and I was exhausted. But, even though we didn't speak the same language, we connected. But again, in a way, we were speaking the same language. We were speaking the language that everybody understands. On this feast of the Pentecost, we tell the story about how the Holy Spirit descended upon the apostles as if in tongues of flame. And they burst out of the room and they began speaking a language that everybody, to their amazement, could understand. And people asked the question, what was that language that they were speaking? And, some biblical scholars say it quite possibly was Aramaic, which was a very common language spoken by many cultures in the Mediterranean. And, okay. And there are some who belong to the charismatic prayer movement, and they say they were speaking glossolalia, the language that the charismatics pray in. Okay. But St. Paul has a very different take on what that language of the Holy Spirit was when he writes, "The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, generosity, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control." That's the language of the Holy Spirit. That's the language that those sisters from Cuba and my mom were really speaking to each other, that shopkeeper in Italy was saying to me. And when you hear that language, regardless of whether it's in Spanish or English or Italian, you know it when you hear it. You know that gentleness. You know that love. You know it. That is the language of the Holy Spirit. And everybody knows it when they hear it. There's another language that everybody knows it when they hear it. It's a language we hear a lot in this world. It sounds like this. This isn't your country. This is our country. I'm sorry about that Fidel Castro thing, but go back to your own country. We've all heard that language before. Or that shopkeeper, he could have easily said, these Americans, they come to our country, they don't speak our language, and they want us to speak theirs. What arrogance. Get out of my shop. Go on, beat it. We've all heard that language before. Sometimes we may even have spoken that language before. Tell me something. What language do you think is being spoken by Israel and Iran, one to the other, right now? What language do you think Russia is speaking to Ukraine right now? We've heard that language before. St. Paul also described that language when he said that the works of this world are immorality, impurity, lust, idolatry, sorcery, hatreds, rivalry, jealousy, outbursts of fury, acts of selfishness, dissensions, factions, envy, drinking bouts, orgies. We've all heard that language before too. It's the language that the world sometimes speaks. And you don't have to be able to speak Spanish, Italian, English, or any language to know it. You know it when you hear it. On this feast of the Pentecost, we are reminded of that wonderful prayer. Come, Holy Spirit, fill the hearts of your faithful and kindle in them the fire of your love. When we speak the language of the Holy Spirit, we take that love that has been enkindled within our hearts and we begin to speak it to the world. And when the world hears that language, they know it and they learn it, and then they begin to speak it. So we have that choice to make today, Pentecost Sunday. What language will we speak to people whom we meet today in our own homes, in our stores, in the streets, people driving by us? We can speak the language of the world if we want to. We all know that one. Or we could speak the language of the Holy Spirit. We know that one too. And that one brings joy. Today, let's speak the language of the Holy Spirit and bring joy.